1985 saw Daniel Attia's only foray onto the big screen with Silver Bullet, here in Germany as The Werewolf of Tucker Mills. The R-rated US production had a budget of $7 million, made in America just $12 million back, and was neither well received by audiences nor critics. In the small town of Tucker Mills, gruesome corpses are suddenly found on nights with a full moon. Only the paralyzed Marty suspects early on a werewolf. An attempt by the outraged residents to find the killer themselves at night, heavily armed, ends with even more deaths. Since the annual fireworks display is cancelled as a result, Marty, with his motorized wheelchair tuned by his uncle, the new Silver Bullet, secretly drives onto a bridge at night to set off a few rockets himself. Shoots the attacking werewolf in the eye, probably didn't see it coming, and the next day his sister discovers that the Reverend is wearing a bandage. The children ask their uncle for help, who doesn't believe them but has a silver bullet made by an old gunsmith. Stephen King wrote the screenplay based on his short story Cycle of the Werewolf, in Germany The Year of the Werewolf, which was published 2 years earlier. Although the movie and the original, neither are masterpieces, tell the same story, they differ in some details. The original spans a year, the movie only a few full moon nights. And there is no tuned Silver Bullet racing wheelchair, just an ordinary electric one. The werewolf attacks Marty in front of his house. There is also no carnage among the hunter group. The Reverend leaves out of fear the town during this time and transforms elsewhere. The sister also plays almost no role, and unlike the uncle, is not present in the final. There, Marty shoots the attacking wolf, who as a human does not remember his monster side, which he himself only discovers after losing his eye, and fully accepts as God's will. Personally, I prefer the much more conclusive calendar story, also because of the beautiful illustrations for each month. Silver Bullet has a good cast. Although a lunatic story, the plot hardly makes sense. It's most of the time entertaining. The werewolf itself is not really well done and often behaves like a common serial killer rather than an animal. This, coupled with the sometimes unbelievable behavior of the stupid inhabitants, leads to some unintentionally funny scenes. Nevertheless, the movie is definitely, at least entertaining-wise, one of the better King adaptations. "1985 was, from the release perspective with 4 major productions, indeed the year of the werewolf. For the completely bonkers sequel to Howling, in which Christopher Lee hunts werewolves that behave like vampires, an absolute trash classic with a genius Babel soundtrack, and the horror comedy hit Teen Wolf,
Memories vanish like sand through my hand. Remembrance slowly dies. Left your face.
See the same named retrospectives.
The blurred photograph. Sleep brings no strength to me. Sleep can't help to forget. Sleep brings no hope for rest. Sleep brings no strength to me, and my scream echoes from the wall.
The British fantasy film with an R rating The Company of Wolves, actually from the previous year, was also released in most countries such as in the US or Germany in 1985. After the short stories The Werewolf and The Company of Wolves from the 1979 fairy tale collection for adults The Bloody Chamber by British author Angela Carter, who also co-wrote the screenplay. Based on Charles Perrault's original French version of Little Red Riding Hood from 1697. He is also quoted directly at the end. In contrast to the generally widespread German Brothers Grimm version from 1812, it also contains sexual elements. There, Little Red Riding Hood lies naked in bed with a disguised wolf. In the Grimm version, she only stands in front of it and is not rescued with her grandmother from the wolf's belly by the hunter. The story ends there after she has been devoured by the wolf. In the movie, a young girl dreams that her family lives in a fairy tale forest in the late 18th century, where she, after her sister is killed by wolves, moves in with her superstitious grandmother, who uses stories to give her dire warnings, especially about men with full-length eyebrows, all of whom turn out to be wolves. Time of the Wolves, the German title, was as often misleadingly marketed as a werewolf horror whatsoever. It's more of an artistic movie with some interesting practical effects, and absolutely not for the mainstream masses. Quite rightly received mostly positive reviews, made at costs of £2 million, just over $4 million in the US, and was considered for years an insider tip, which many only became aware of after Neil Jordan's later successes such as Interview with a Vampire from 1994.